Okay, hello everybody. I am back from last week. We streamed at a weird time last week, so it's kind of different. But yeah, okay. So while I wait for people to pile in here, we did a 4K subscriber special. We had fun. Oh, sweet. We already have some people in here. Cool. Everyone's jumping in early. Yeah, we did the 4K subscriber special. Had a blast with that. Some parts of it were slower than others, but for the most part, it was great because everyone was just kind of hanging out and chatting. And it looks like my video feed should be running okay. Okay, so it looks like that's running fine. Guys, let me know if there's ever any issues with the stream, and I'll try to catch them as soon as I can. So anyway, back into this. It's been a while since I've been in here, and fortunately, we have a list of things to do. Oh, that's right. That's what I was going to mention. So first of all, sorry that there was no like 1 hour prior notice because I was kind of working on something beforehand, and then I got out just in time to kick everything up and send a 15 minutes, prior notice. Hey, I'm starting the stream in 15 minutes. So sorry I didn't send one out an hour before, but anyway, stream time is out there for the most part. I've kind of let everyone know that it's at the usual time. So yeah, anyway, there's that. And additionally, depending on who's in here and who wants track critiques, we may end up doing some track critiques at the end of this. I don't know. That may cut into the actual stream time here because I have two projects I need to work on, and one of them kind of needs to be prepped up and worked on a little bit today because I have a class that I need to have that ready for. So long story short, it's we may have, instead of like a 2 hour stream, we may have like a 1.5 hour stream and then go into critiques. So we have time for that, and then we'll have to drop out. So yeah, that's currently planned. Okay, so anyway, yeah, first of all, before we get into doing stuff, let's listen to the track back. It's been a while since I've been in here, since we didn't do any work last week in this. So we'll take a listen here, and then we'll go off of these and start working on this sort of stuff, and then from there we'll see what happens. So. And that's pretty much all we have right now. So, so we have, actually, there's a whole bunch of other things we could do. I'm going to try, add reverb to vocals and then compress. We're going to add that to the list because that's one of the things I want to try with this. I vaguely remember doing this. Yeah, so we did actually do some of this, but I might want to do it, maybe like add more reverb because I kind of like really want like this really weird upfront vocal sort of sound. Okay, so hey Shiv, welcome to the stream. Okay, so actually before we get too far into this, there was one particular thing that I wanted to show of Vardy. So just really quick, we're gonna do this. Vardy, this is the sort of sound I was talking about with that one bass. So let me pull this up. Because he's trying to figure out how to make a bass from a certain song, and basically what happened is we have, that's not one good one, no. Okay, I'm kind of surprised because I have a feeling, sorry about how loud that is, guys. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna see if I could find because I know there's a really good one in here. I just don't remember what it's down. So it's probably gonna be down Super Saw. ARP base. It might be down one of the bases. No. No. That's kind of it. Yeah. Okay. Claus says, I need to confess, you said if you can't hear the difference, then don't do it, and you still did it. What are you talking about? What in particular did you do this with? I think it's a lead that I'm looking for. So let's move out of the bases. I don't know why it's so hard to find right now. This is kind of it. I don't know why it's distorting to all high heck though. Maybe it's just because it's got a distortion unit on it. That could be it. Filter one. Yeah, I'm not gonna play with that one. This is it. So it's kind of just like a super saw, but it's a bit more like abrasive and wobbly. And then what you do is you just kind of filter it down. Okay. You have a base with 8 plugins on it. Well, I mean, 8 plugins is like, arguably it's not that much. Like, it's not like crazy that you have just 8 plugins on it. But at the same time, you know, be careful. So, yeah. So one of the Avarti, like, you kept on like saying that the bass kind of feels weak. I proposed to you that maybe you should pull the plugins off because like, if you start to do all kinds of stuff to it, like, that's pretty full now that I've kind of like balanced out the level. So, so like when you start having other stuff run behind it, you can tell it takes up enough space. Like when you start to get these nice basses, like if you have a good bass preset in a synth, and then you start to do tons of processing and then it just sounds weak. Typically it's because you're thinking you need to EQ or do this or do that or do something else when all you really need to do is just take everything off and turn up the level of the preset so that it's, you know, it stands out more in the mix. Now that said, if you were to like not have this filter on and do the same thing, we play this back. It just totally kills everything. It's got way too much, you know, high-end material to really sit in the mix. So when you filter this off, like you get, like that's probably even a safe zone. You don't need to bring it all the way down to here. That's just like if you want a super deep sound. But I'd say like right around there to where you get the rumble, but you don't get that sort of part. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're not sure all the plugins are doing exactly what they need to be doing. Yeah, that is a thing. Like you might drop on a compressor hoping that it's like improving the dynamics when you're just kind of like, you know, is it compressing it to flatten things or is it compressing it to like make things have more dynamics? So, yeah. Okay. How do you get your bass to sound like it's in a lot of it's got a lot of space to it? So there's, yeah, so Avarti's trying to decide if Or I guess he's like kind of asking, kind of looking around to see if reverb on a bass is a good thing. So the answer to that is you have to be careful. The reason is if we just create a software instrument here. I'm just going to drop this into SynthMaster. And instead of finding a preset, we're going to go to the reset preset. And it's nice that rhymes. And just go to sine. That's pretty powerful. And you could actually use that as a sub bass. A lot of people do. But you're like, oh, it needs more space. So you drop on a Space Designer. Ha ha ha, the pun. And then you find some sort of, I don't know, something like that. Let me turn this down so it's not quite as powerful. So what can happen there is you get this space now, but at the same time, if you go into utility, gain, and set this into mono, watch what happens. It's not actually that bad. You hear I like when it trails off, it gets that real weird like kind of rumbling sound. That's kind of like muffled and sort of sound. Let me go. There we go. That's more what I was looking for. Notice that when we turn on the Space Designer, it loses a lot of its presence. Now, in a mix, and when things are a bit more interesting, this is a lot more obvious. But it's because bass phases a lot, and it has issues with that. So, yeah, you can add reverb to bass lines, but I don't suggest doing it if you're just trying to get like a subby sound, like what you're kind of looking at with that one other track. So like a similar thing you could think you want to try to do is have like multiple voices and set it to free there. And then stereo spread, turn that up. Detune spread, yep. And basically we'll get this sound. It's too loud now. It's clipping all over the place. Okay, so that's like the worst case scenario of phasing. This should be more in stereo. Oh, it's because I have the plugin here turning it to mono. 4 voices, stereo spread, detune spread, return. It becomes a lot more obvious when you have like something like that. But you hear when you add all these voices, it starts to do like the fade in and fade out sort of thing. That's because it's phasing. So it's like the whole thing about being quite careful with what you use as a sub. So one of the things you could do is, when in doubt, you could actually just use a pure sine as a sub. Excuse me, and then like get a lead and filter off the low end and high end and just kind of get the mids. So like for this, we'd get an EQ. We'd like use this section, but we'd then have a pure sine underneath of it. So yeah. Okay, so what's in the chat here? Yeah, based on your research, people have mixed opinions. Well, like if you have like a trance bass that's just kind of like this plucky bass, sometimes you could add reverb to it because it's not just like sitting in this one long note or in very powerful long notes. It's just kind of more like a doom, 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 doom. And you could let the reverb go after it. And then it's not phasing because the reverb is after the bass. It's not, you know, layered on top of running simultaneously at the same time as the bass. So there are cases where I'd say, yeah, it's probably fine. You could add reverb to that. Other cases, I'd like suggest minimal reverb. Other cases, I suggest no reverb. When you're doing a sub, my suggestion is no reverb. It just messes with the phase. So that's like probably not the best thing to do on a sub. As I said, you know, you could get this sort of idea where you get a sub and then you get this, and then you have like this part have reverb. That can work, and because then you're not like dealing with all the phase in your sub, you're just dealing with some negligible phasing in this area. So that's up to you. Do producers contact every vocalist they know and check what they got? I'm just wondering how EDM works, to be honest. Good question. I honestly don't know. Because I know labels can have a part in it. Like, an artist will ask for a vocalist or vocals, and then they'll kind of like the label will find someone and say like, "Hey, you want this person?" Other times, the artist will ask for a certain vocalist, and if that vocalist is available, they'll say, "Yeah, I can do that." So I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I know there's kind of like some variety in terms of how that plays out. In terms of us, smaller scale people, what you want to do is you want to find some smaller scale vocalists. I have no idea how. Don't ask me how, because I have not been able to find many. And then from there, you kind of ask them, "Hey, would you be interested in collaborating with me?" And then if you get a response, whoop-de-doo, you could do it. But one of the things you need to consider is sometimes these vocalists don't have their own gear to record, so they either have to go to a studio, or if they're local, then you could have them come over to your place. Either way, there's going to be some sort of effort involved in getting the recording. So sometimes for them, that means they have to pay a studio to get their vocals recorded. So that means sometimes they might not be totally game on just saying, yeah, I could just, your stuff's okay, so I'll do the vocals for it because it won't be that hard. It's not that way. They're kind of like the same way you view your own projects. Like, you wouldn't just have like a snotty vocalist come in and like that can't hit anything and do it on top of your track, because you're like, no, I want to, like, it takes me a while to make these tracks. I want it to sound good. So it's kind of the same way for vocalists, even though as producers we kind of see that as an easier thing. It's just the whole idea of the fact that they have to go into a studio, do multiple takes, and then they like, sometimes the studio is charging them. Other times they're doing it in their own home studio, and that's a little bit less effort for them. But at the same time, then they have to go through and they have to edit all the takes together, because you're usually assuming that you're only going to get one vocal in. You're not going to get like 20 vocal takes in. But anyway, it's a hassle for them. So you have to keep that in mind when you're proposing a collaboration. So okay. Yeah, a lot of producers know vocalists. Like, they'll hear a vocalist on a track and they'll write the name down, and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm working on this track, and that one vocalist I heard before, I'd like to pull in." That's how a lot of pros do it. I'm certain. Other times I know they're just like, "Hey, we need lyrics, we need vocalist," and then someone actually manages that elsewhere, depending on just how they're attacking that particular situation. So yeah. Okay. Stream lagging. I'll check it really quick on my end. Should be fine. If it's lagging, usually it's because, yeah, when it's lagging, usually it's just because you have poor internet connection for whatever reason. It looks fine for the most part on my end. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah, if you slap Camel Crusher and stereo delay... Oh, if you slap stereo delay on your bass, that would be one of the things that could widen it up. But you have to be very careful then about what you're doing to the phase. Because that's probably the worst thing you could do in terms of the phase. So, yeah. Okay. Let's talk ripping vocals. On SoundCloud, you mentioned it's impossible. If that's the case, then how do people remix these big tracks? Very good question. So... I'm not 100% sure how some people get access to the vocals, because I know I have heard some remixes with some superbly clean vocals that are by indie producers, and they're not by like these big names. I don't know where they get the vocals from, to be honest. There are ways to rip vocals. One of them, which is like the way that makes the most sense, is you get the original track without vocals, and then you get the track with vocals, and then you use phase cancellation to get rid of the track and just have the vocals. The problem is synthesizers do not bounce the same way every time, so it doesn't work so well a lot of the time. So you kind of have to like filter and do other things like that. So then you kind of get these nasty garbled vocals. So that's the method, assuming you have the track with vocals and the track without vocals, and then you also are skilled in doing that. But even then, you end up with this vocal that is all garbled and kind of messy, and it's not all that great. It's good for DJ use, like when you're running a loud track underneath of it, and then you want like to throw a vocal on top that is not the original vocal, but it's in the same key, so it really works. then that works rather well. But when you go into do production stuff, you lose the quality of the vocals that is required to do like small bits, like having a section where you're kind of like you're chill and you have like the vocals running, because then the vocals have all this noise and it's just terrible. So realistically, there are a few applications out there that are designed to just get the vocals, but then one of the things they do is they just grab the center information and reject the side information. So then you get like the vocals, and then you also get the kick drum, and you also get some other things. So it's just like it's kind of, the idea is you're trying to unmix a track. Like it's going, it's like you bake a cake, and then you take it out of the oven, and then you try to like, okay, now I'm gonna isolate all the sugar in this cake, and it just doesn't work. It's all mixed together. It's all like in one cohesive thing. So if you try to pull out all the sugar, it's just like, you might be able to do it, but it'd either be a complete pain in the butt, or you just end up with sugar and a lot of other bits inside of it. Like, for instance, you're like, okay, well, I'll just scrape off the frosting for one. And yeah, that gets rid of a lot of the sugar, but frosting has more than just sugar in it. So that's why it's so difficult, and it's not really like possible in most ways. So yeah, it can be done. It's very messy. So yeah. Yeah, if you do a mashup, it's okay. For production, you just need the original thing. And the only way to get that is to get in contact with the label and or the artist, because if you just contact the artist, chances are they don't own all the rights to the vocals, and they can't just like give it to you. Typically, if they're signed to a label, the label now owns the rights, and the artist can't really do much in terms of letting you have the vocals. So yeah, 10 people, things just got crazy. Yep. So yeah. And also welcome everybody to the stream. I see we've got like a couple people that were hanging out and chatting with me on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. So cool. Glad that a lot of people were able to make it. So yeah, that's my spiel on bass and vocals. Bass, you want to try to keep mono most of the time. Now I know for your case, Avardi, like you want a stereo sound, so I'd try to find a clean rave bass. Now it kind of just like this sort of like hover sound, Hoover sound actually. I don't think I have any of those. No, I probably don't. But there are some. I'm sure there's some somewhere. I just don't remember the names of them. But they kind of like this. It's kind of like, gosh, for the life of me, I don't know the exact name of it other than, that's basically what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's what I was looking for. It's kind of like this rave bass sort of sound. And then what you do is you just filter off the high end enough. And you can notice when this one drops into mono, it behaves a little bit better with itself. Because it's kind of the way the synth was designed. You're not just like, offsetting the phase or not offsetting the phase, offsetting the stereo channels or adding reverb to it. So that's why it kind of behaves a little bit better with itself, but still, it wouldn't be good as if it was just like pure mono. So that's kind of what you're looking for, like a sort of rave bass sound. Yeah. So that's the tone you're looking for. Okay, let us hop into today's work. So we took a listen to the project earlier, and for those of you that missed that, don't worry, we'll be playing back through the project a lot. Maybe add Plucky ARP to drop. Okay, so we might do that. I have no idea how I spelled that so wrong. Triangel. That's funny. Anyway, so one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to replace the crash and replace the triangle because it kind of sound weak right now. Yeah, okay, so we're going to need another crash here, and we're going to see what we can do to this, because I might need to just replace the sample. Because there's not too much we could do. In terms of getting these to sound a little bit fuller. Let's see. That sounds horrible. So it's that one that's kind of being dark. Like, why does it lose all of the attack? It makes no sense to me. Because, like, if you listen to it by itself... Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Sounds nice and sharp, but... It sounds fine right there, but right here... That worked. And then it, like, dies, so... I'm not sure. Okay, you know what? Actually, maybe what I should do is I should just freeze this track down. Okay, so first, I'm going to check to make sure I like the automation how it is. So what I'm trying to do right now is I move this back to make it sound like we're not cutting this out with the volume. Instead, it just kind of like sounds like it's the natural decay of the sound. And then this one here, I'm just going to move it up because I don't want to hear too much detail when we get into this section. I might just cut it. And I kind of want to curve this as well because, okay, what? No, that's not. Where's my? Oh, there it is. Automation curve tool, because it starts to like. By the time we hit this spot, it's kind of like gotten to the point to where you could barely hear it. So I'm gonna curve it up a little bit. And that'll push it so that it does that like immediate cut as the kick hits. Make that a little bit more subtle. Okay. Okay, I think that's as good as we're going to get. And I think I started on saying something and then I completely stopped and I forgot what I was going to say. So I apologize if I just did that. Okay, so now that we've done this, I'm going to create a empty MIDI region here. From here, don't move anything, to here. And then we are going to bounce this region. So we're going to go to the little menu up here, and it's not going to let me do it. Great. So if I select all these, does it do it? Solo. Okay. Okay, we'll just do this the not so beautiful way. So I'll bounce this. PCM is a 24-bit. We'll dither it. Fine. No, wait. We won't dither it. And we have this correct section here. Don't include audio tail, offline, normalize, off. And sounds good. We're going to add it to the project as well. Sweet. And then we're going to go to BIP effects. Ding. Isn't it great? Okay, so now that we have that, we can go to our project here, find our little ding sample somewhere in here. It's probably at the very bottom. Ding. Okay, now we can mute this. Sweet. Yeah, mute that. Bring you up there. Then we're going to need to turn you down. Can you turn it down? There we go. Sweet. I'm going to make this a -6 though. That way we could play with the fader and have fun with that. Because when it's too loud, you have enough room to turn it down. I'm gonna try cutting it there, see what happens. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, cool. So we've done that. Now let me see. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything in the chat quite yet in regards to questions. So that was pretty straightforward here, and hopefully this will actually cause the issue we were having before, because I want to say it's because we're using the filter bank that kind of relies on an LFO. And when you run the LFO, it has a tendency to, like, depending on where you start the playhead, it has a tendency to shift where it kind of starts. So that means if I start it right here, it'll sound fine. But if I start like back here, it won't. So that's why I bounce that down. And we'll see if that works. And that worked fine. So we're going to keep that there. And, okay, replace triangle with different pluck. Nope, so that's fine. And then we're going to make the crash longer. So that's on quick on our to-do list. As always, if you guys have, like, any production-related questions, feel free to ask them. You don't have to wait till, like, the end of the stream or anything like that. The only thing I ask is if you want a track critique, then have it prepped up at the end of the stream, depending on how many, submissions we have. We may or may not have time to get to all of them. So, just kind of bear with me on that one. And I know there were some people waiting from like 2 weeks ago, so they get to go first. If they're here, I know one of them's not going to be here. Some other people will be here. So, yep. Okay, so we just got lost for a second. Crashes. Okay, I think we'll try this crash because it's a lot longer, that's for sure. So is this one our... No, that's a reverse crash. I think this one... Wait, no. This one is our crash? No? Yeah, that's our crash. Okay, so we'll just try using this one instead. So first of all, we gotta pitch it down. Ow! I am so sorry, guys. That hurt. Okay, first we need to turn it down. -10. Oh gosh, that's still super loud. That's one of the things about crashes that's terrible. If you normalize them at 0 dB, when you're like making a sample, they're insanely loud. So we'll make this, what, -18? See, that's a normal level just now. Okay, and then one of the things I'm going to do here is okay, actually, I need to do two things. So the first thing I need to do is we're going to go to flex time, set this to speed, and then we're going to change the, adjust the time here to make it higher pitched. So that should be Nice sounding. We'll mute you. Yeah, you're muted. And then we'll cut the sample here. The reason we do this is because it gives that ding sound a lot more dynamics. Because if you have like the tail of this and you cut it just as something hits, the fact that you drop something out makes the hit sound a lot more prominent. So that's why I'm doing that there. Okay, I'm gonna try to flex this out just a little bit. Just to kind of get the tone to where I like it. And I think what I might do is I might cut the beginning as well, just to give it a little bit more punch. Actually, you know what we'll do? We're going to use, I don't really use this all this much. We're going to go to the, where is it? Expander, I believe. Yeah, the expander. So this works in very select cases, but it's basically like kind of like a compressor, but not really. It's kind of like an attack, like the attack and release. If you know SPL, Transient Designer, and what was the other one? I can't remember the name of the other one. Envelope. That's what it was. NVELOPE, I believe. And those ones kind of do the same thing as this, except this one is like crap. So so what this does is it looks for a certain threshold and then allows us to like adjust the attack here. So, oh no, wait, no, this isn't it. This is the expander. Ugh, I have the wrong one open. Which one is it? It's that was the expander. Sorry. Trying to find enveloper. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. That's what it was. You hear that really sharp click? So it's kind of like when it hits a certain threshold, it just boosts up for a certain period of time and then decays down. So our decay is this. The reason it's so bad compared to the other ones is like, it's kind of based on a threshold. It's not based on like smart detecting of where transients are. So it's kind of limited in its use. We'll do a little bit of a look at it as well. See, how's that go? Don't want this to be too obvious, but at the same time. There we go. Just to like add enough to make the crash. So here we go. Well, I'll let this loop so you don't hear my space bar. Actually, you know what? I'll mute myself really quick. So basically, it just gets rid of that like sliding sound and like how the crash slides in and then lets it hit. So it works a little bit better than a compressor because it uses a different method, but at the same time, as I said, it's kind of limited in its functionality because it is based off of a threshold. So, okay. Yeah, okay, it's just Ryan's. Yeah, I actually checked out your Freeze Time remix, Shrines, and to be honest, like, I think my primary complaints were still there. So it was like, you know, the fact that the vocals in the second half were off time, the fact that one of the effects in the beginning kind of just like cut in at a weird time, and then your first half of your intro had that one synth that was kind of supposed to be like a layered synth, and it was still in the front. So I think like most of the feedback I gave kind of still stands. I'm not quite sure what you changed throughout it. Nothing was standing out as like Oh, that's so much better. Like, I didn't feel that throughout most of the track. So, not 100% sure what you were focusing on so much. Because, I mean, the mix was pretty darn good for the most part. So if that's what you were working on, I wasn't checking that. I wasn't paying too much attention. Okay. And sure, I guess, like, depending on how who's in the stream and what we have to critique, because I know there was some I have Nelium, I don't think is here right now. And then I have one from someone else. And okay, so yeah. So I have no idea how to pronounce this because it sounds like two names, like a first name and a last name, but I can't figure out where the space is supposed to be. Marth Inuison? I'm not certain. It's a track called Vibes. So that one's earlier up on the queue, and then we have one by Nelium, but Nelium is actually not going to be here today. So it looks like we have one, and then I could go to Shrines, and then yeah, I think I could probably reassess that if you want me to. So, and then Claws. Actually, you know what? Yeah, Shrines. Let me know what you changed, and then I may get to that one. Otherwise, Claws, I could probably check out your track because I'm. It kind of sounds like it. Yeah, and then yeah, the updated version would be nice without the 88 tracks. So, try to refresh the page. Oh, okay, yeah. The stream should still be running. Yeah, if it's working for other people, it should be fine. Yeah, refreshing is one of the things you want to try, especially if you have slow internet. Okay, so yeah, we added a bit more impact to the crash here, and we have this. But one of the things you probably noticed is this is entirely in mono. So we could do my typical delay option, but what I'm going to use this time is I actually bought this one. It's one of the Plugin Alliance plugins that or the only Plugin Alliance I've bought so far. BX Stereo Maker. We're going to see how well this works on a crash. And basically we're going to just adjust the tone till it sounds right, like it's in the right spot. And this kind of like adjusts the center frequency. Now the cool thing about this one is it retains the dynamics of whatever we're doing. So like if we stick it into mono, we don't get phasing. That's the primary reason I'm using this right here, because if I use a one of my regular methods to do this make this in stereo, when we stick the track in mono, it'll have phasing issues. Now, I haven't been checking for phasing issues for the most part in a lot of my tracks and a lot of my videos, but I'm starting to do that now because it's something you're supposed to do. It's something that people do in like for specific reasons in the EDM scene, and also professional mix engineers do it outside of the EDM scene. The reason is because like in the EDM scene, a lot of clubs run in mono. So if when you stick your track in mono, everything sounds phasey and garbly and garbage, then it's kind of like you can't really play it on those systems. It sucks. It doesn't sound like a normal track. So you want to make sure that you have the consistency that when you stick it in mono, it still has all the punch, it still sounds solid, and it still has a lot of its body. So it's a very important thing. And, you know, I haven't been worried about it too much because, like, to my knowledge, only one of my tracks has ever been played in a club. So, so that's why I haven't cared so much. It's like most of it hasn't been played there. But from now on, I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on getting that consistency between a stereo mix and a mono mix so that it's all like, you know, both of them are good. So that's why I'm using this one in this particular situation, because I know a crash is going to phase a lot. There's some other things we don't have to worry about so much, but crashes, claps, and snares, and a few other things we really need to worry about. Other things we can just, for the most part, use our older methods and stick with that. So, okay. Let me mute myself and we'll try to find the center frequency. You'll notice that a lot of the frequencies here, as we change the tone, are going to sound terrible. That's because the same method is used as, where is it? Specialized, where is it? No, it's imaging. The stereo spread, which is Logic. Logic's plugin, it uses the same technique as this, but this one does it so much better. Like, you could actually use this and get good results pretty fast. This one is like, it takes forever to get like a decent sound, and even then it's still just a decent sound. So anyway, let me shut up and we can listen to this. And there we go. That was pretty easy. You could tell there were some of those in there that, like, as we move the knob, they just kind of sounded like weird. Like, we had like the frequencies were kind of like shifted in a weird way. And as I said, it's because it uses the same technique as the, why do I still have expander on here? It uses the same technique as the Logic's built-in one, which is why some of the settings don't sound particularly good for certain instruments. But at the same time, you just adjust the tone on this one till it fits the particular material. And as you can see, when we found this right spot, it sounds great. And we could mess with the stereo expansion and run it all the way up to 3 times. Take a listen to this, and I'll show you how far it can go. So that's a lot of stereo expansion. And one of the great things is, once again, we could just go on to our main mix here. Check the mono. And if we turn that off, there is no difference between this plugin sent to mono mode and having not the plugin at all. So that is the great thing about it. We retain the dynamics of the crash. Great. That's why I bothered actually spending $20 on this. It's still running the trial. I haven't re-registered it with the version I purchased, but yeah. So this is great in that regard, and it was only $20 at the time. So I don't think you get it for $20. Oh no, wait. Actually, they might not have updated the site yet. Let me check, just because, in case anyone wants to grab this one because it is like really cheap, or was. Let's see. Nope. Looks like they finally updated the site and pulled off all the old sales. So, sorry guys, it is back up to like, oh no, actually it's still $20. They haven't successfully pulled off all the sales. So if you want to grab it, it's $20. It's for how well it works. That's a great price. So it is up to you though. Yeah. Okay. So just checking the chat really quick. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool, Vardy. Yeah, Ice Blade was the one that was the only one that was played at a club. Okay, how to apply multiband compression in mastering. Good question. Unfortunately, it's not in the scope of today's time. Like we've been running for about 15 minutes, 50, and multiband compression is pretty difficult because you need to be wary about crossovers and kind of like how your mix ends up translating with the compression you do, where the crossovers are, how drastic the differences are between the compression, and so that's like a whole video series on it. Like, not video series, but like it's probably 2 videos in and of itself. And quite frankly, as I've said in other videos, it's just not something I'm amazing at. So I don't want to like do like a cursory, like, here's kind of the idea of it, and you know, and you could do this, because like I did that in a video already, and I don't want to like re-talk about it with more depth when I'm not like, it's just not something I'm really good at yet. When I get Ozone, eventually. I'm not sure how long that'll be, but when I get Ozone, I will. I'll work with their multiband compressors a bit more, learn how it kind of goes, and then from there do something. But I'm like, I'm not too fond of the design of the multipressor, which I wonder if they haven't updated it, but they're probably going to change the layout and the interface of this pretty soon. But it's just some of the things about it are kind of weird to me. So it's, I don't know. It's just not something I want to spend too much time working in when I'm not too fond of the plugin itself. But when I get Ozone, I'll spend a lot more time practicing getting some work done in multiband compressor. And also additionally, pretty soon I'm going to have some projects finished up, which means I'll be able to spend more time in audio stuff, which means that I'll be back to... I'm going to really try to start pushing my like a mastering service so I can master your tracks, and I'll make it I'll make it as affordable as I can, and I'll do the best job I can on all the tracks. So, yeah. Oh, the new kick and bass video. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff backlogged. Like, I have a whole list on my laptop of videos that I need to make. And it's only growing, which is kind of good because that means that I have a lot of videos to make and a lot of, like, options for ways to go. But at the same time, I don't have time. Like, this week and next week, I definitely don't have time. The 2 following weeks, I might have time to do a few additional small things, but probably not so much. Additionally, one of the things I want to set up is I want to set up a forum for us to, like, so we could just hang out, chat, ask questions, not during the live stream, so that, like, if you can never make it to the live stream for whatever reason, instead of just like finding a random video to post a question on, you could just post in the forum, and like, anyone can answer what their thoughts are, and if I get to it, I can answer my thoughts. So that's one of the things on the list as well. So look out for that. We're gonna have a forum eventually. It's not gonna be like, I'm considering just like doing it on Reddit, creating a subreddit for us, and doing it that way, because then it's kind of like this conglomerate site that, if you create an account there, you could do multiple things with that account. It's not just like going onto a website I made, creating an account on my website, because that's always such a hassle, like doing something like that. So I kind of like to do it on a place where a lot of people may or may not have accounts already, and that way we could all, just kind of collectively go there for the most part. But at the same time, that kind of costs, the thing about Reddit is some of the things just get lost in the feed and you can never find them again. But I don't know, we'll see. That's still pending. And that's, like, as I said, that's one of the things I want to do when I get time, but right now I just don't have time. So anyway, now that we've talked for like 20 minutes, probably not 20 minutes, but we've talked for a while after I've added this stereo maker onto it, and the dynamics. Let's see how it actually sounds now that we've, did some stereo spreading and did some adjustment to the dynamics on the crash, in terms of, how that's changed the mix here. So we'll play from here, just kind of give us some buffer room to get into the mix. And then when that hits, that spot hits, we'll kind of know what to be measuring it against. Because that's one of the things, if you just like play it back from really close, you don't get a full idea of how the mix is and how it should sit in the mix. So anyway. Okay, so one of the things about this that I'm not particularly fond of is the mids it has. And I think I might need to adjust the... I think that's a little better. And then we'll just try to filter out some of the mids. Okay, sweet. And then we'll just turn it down, and that should be all we need. still a little bit too loud. Bring that down again. That's better. So it's a lot better than the other one. Yeah, we'll call that good for now. If we want to get back to it later, we could go back and do it later. But one of the things I like to do is when I think it's like, it's pretty much good, then I won't write it down on the list. Like, even if I'm not 100% happy with it. And the idea is if I come back to it and I'm still not happy with it, like it stands out and as a bad thing, then I'll go back and fix it. But if you're like, oh, it's not perfect, and then you just decide to step away for a while and you come back and you forget that was one of the things you were working on, then chances are what can actually happen is you'll forget about it entirely because it was actually good enough. You just didn't, you were just like focusing on it too much, trying to find all the small things about it that didn't work. So you kind of like lost track of the grand scheme of things. So could you tighten the notes for the voice chops? Yeah, I could. I haven't decided entirely what I'm going to do in that spot. So yeah, going into down crash from the up crash. Uplifting crash to downlifting crash. Okay. So you mean with this one that I'm doing? Because this is like a reverse crash and then it kind of goes into the ding sound, which is, I don't want to go into like a crash here. That's one of the things I definitely don't want to do. Definitely don't want to put a crash here because that'll kill a lot of the energy that kind of that pops up when we have this gap with a very thin sound. So right here though, that's what I'm doing. I have like this riser and then a crash. Okay. You want to see what it sounds like if the progression is a bit faster. I can tell you right now, it does not sound all that great. Because I tried, just because I was curious, I was wondering what it would sound like. Let me save this before I mess with that too much. But if I go to this area, and we'll bring the tempo up to like 128. It doesn't really sound that great. It's kind of like designed to be this slower sort of chill, jumping around sort of sound. Well, I do have a riser here though. I have a riser in the crash. So I don't want to, well, actually, you know what I could do is we'll duplicate this and I think I have like a reverse version of this somewhere. In here, no, project, there we go. I want to say, where is it? Somewhere in that effect loop. Got it somewhere here. Oh well. You mean like just using this exact sound and reversing it so it's back into crash? Because one of the reasons I'm not doing that is because it doesn't have so much dynamics when you do that. But at the same time, if I do that, like right now, convert to new audio file, reverse, and then I go pull this. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, okay. So that's actually a good idea in some sense. So I'm gonna reverse this so we have that. I'm gonna put it underneath the crash we already have. I'm not just gonna have this one as the crash as a replacement. Because what this does is it kind of like lets us have a little bit of the tone of the original. I'm going to turn this down as well. But it's like the main crash is elsewhere. Because then you kind of just get like this roll in and then roll down if you have it, they're exactly the same. So and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out this area. Let me grab my fade tool. Boom. I'm going to pull this forward. Because we have it rise back in. So that's like a lot of the same thing in one section. If we do that, if we have too much of it. So. Okay, let's listen to that one more time. Yeah, I think that works better. Okay. So we might EQ the crash later because we haven't really done too much EQing on it. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. Notes. Okay, so we have fixed the crash for the most part. Add a plucky ARP to the drop. Ugh, I don't know if I could do that today. More reverb to vocals than compress. Should we do that, or you guys have other ideas? Whew. Oh, we were running. We have been going for an hour exactly. Okay, so let's see here. You know, we're gonna take a listen to this. Not all the way from the beginning, just from here, because we'll kind of like figure out what we feel the track needs in terms of how it's flowing and what direction we should go. So. Okay, sorry about that. So one of the things I want to do here is there's a note that I think if we extended it out earlier, it'd actually sound nice. Okay, which one is it? Okay, we'll try this one first. So we'll have it come in a little early. I think we might have already tried this. I can't remember. That's way too much. Oh wait, I'm holding the wrong button. That's why. Sorry. There we go. Just a little bit earlier. That's perfect. And then I think we could take this one and actually make it a little late. This is called humanization. Run it out a little bit longer. There we go. think this one sounds fine, so I won't mess with that one. Yeah, I think that's fine. So we'll stick with that. And I am not in the zone enough to be able to add like a sort of plucky ARP thing. I don't think I'd have the sort of inspiration right now to do that. As for what we did in the 4K subscribers live stream, I did a lot of talking about plugins. I can tell you that much. I talked about a lot of plugins. We demoed a few plugins, and I don't know, what else did we do? Play with Serum a little bit, which I have. Haven't used it all today, just because don't really need it right now. Yeah, and then the second half of the live stream was a little bit more chill. Like there wasn't quite as much talking. I got a track from Avardi, and I was gonna try to like do a live remix of it. So instead of like a remix, I was redoing the mix down. But he had it like broke it up into 88 tracks, and that was like the biggest hurdle, trying to get everything done. And then the other thing as well was he had a lot of processing on the tracks, so I couldn't quite do that as well either. So that was a little bit of a flop. I'm just gonna be honest, it didn't really like go over that well in terms of live stream material, just because I was like sitting there trying to work on stuff and I wasn't really talking quite as much as I should have. So yeah. Oh, hey, Alex, you're in. Awesome. So yeah, there the 4K subscribe. Alex was in there too. So we had some fun times in there. We didn't really do that much in them per se, so you didn't miss out that much in that regard. Yeah, but it was still fun. It was great having everyone there. It was great chatting. But we like didn't do a lot of like tutorials or covering specific things. It was mostly just like Q&A stuff and messing around with plugins and other things like that. So yeah. Do you care about the notes being tight on the grid? Yes and no. Yes, I tend to like that because that's kind of how I am. But I have found that, like, as you can see with what I've done with the Vocal Chop, with when I do piano stuff and when I do string stuff, all three of those, I do not like them on the grid because it just sounds wrong. It doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound like it's, everything. It doesn't sound timed right, actually, to be honest. So otherwise, I just leave everything on the grid, except for bass lines. Now that I think about it, bass lines as well, I'll usually add like a shuffle to them or a swing, and that kind of gives it a little bit more groove, instead of just keeping everything right on the beat. Because like if you have 16th notes straight and you play that back and you add sidechaining, it sounds okay, but the instant you add like you add a swing to it, it sounds so much better. It's really cool. So that's one of the things I like about FL Studio, is just how easy it is to add swing, and it can really help the way like your note progressions sound. So cool stuff. Yep. And as you could all tell, well, actually you may not be able to tell, I'm not sure. But I gave Alex and Christian moderator privileges because I'm like, oh, I could do that. So I just made them mods. So just for the fun. But yeah, okay. So what to do next? Do we have any votes? Anybody have any particular thoughts of what we should do next? Because kind of I'm a little bit stuck right now just because, like, as I said, I'm a little bit too preoccupied with thinking about other things because, like I said, I have tons of stuff to do after the stream today, so I can't get to doing something like this just because I'm not like in the zone right now. And if I try to force something like this, it'll just sound pathetic. So I can't do that. I can go into this, but if you guys don't want to watch me do this, then there's no point to. Otherwise, I don't know. I just go into the start expanding this out, giving it a bit more structure, would be the next phase, I would guess. Alex, we're doing show some more Serum presets. Oh, that's right. Oh, wow. Jared, you're in the stream. Did I notice that earlier, or did you just get in here? Because for some reason I remember seeing your vaguely remember running across your icon, but maybe you just hopped in. Huh. Okay, yeah, I didn't, yeah. Okay, so, okay, so we'll play this back just so Alex can get a chance to hear it. And if anybody, like, if anything, I muted myself before I was done talking. If anything sticks out to you guys while this is playing back, then just kind of mention it. Don't mention it like this spot is, you know, needs more bass or something like that, because the stream is not timed the same for you guys as it is for me. So when you say this, I don't know what you're referring to. So just keep that in mind. But once again, muted it before I was done talking. But keep an ear out for things that that you think might need adjusting. But we'll take a listen to this once again, and then we'll. Oh, the moderator thing. It's just, I don't know. I think you could, like, if people are misbehaving, you could like flag them and put them in timeout and block them and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just because it makes you guys look cooler. If everyone else can see you guys are moderators, it kind of like makes you stand out a bit more. And just because Alex and Christian have a lot of credibility in my eyes because they've sent me stuff, and it's really impressed me. That's why I gave them moderator privileges, because if it makes them stand out a bit more in the chat, then you guys will kind of know these guys are guys you should listen to because they have a lot of expertise as well. So yeah. Okay, so let's take a listen to this. Okay, so that's the track, and actually, you know what? You guys just want to do track critiques, or what? Do we want to keep working on this or track critiques? Let's vote. Everybody, let me know. Track critiques or keep working on this. But yeah, Avardi, you have the personality, but you don't get moderator privileges until you have a lot of skill as well. So yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. Track critiques. I'm seeing two track critiques. Crack critiques. I need to like make a funny name for this because track critiques is like a little hard to say, and it always comes out crack critiques. Yeah, track critiques. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we'll just pull over to track critiques. So, yeah, so in terms of people watching the recording for this, sorry it was a little bit slow. As I said, you know, we had stuff to do, fortunately. We had stuff to talk about, fortunately. But, you know, today is just a day that I have a lot on my plate, and so I'm not very inspired to work on the track a lot. And come up with new things and do interesting things. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut the stream for a little bit. I'm going to go grab something to munch, and while I wait, because like if I stop the stream and start it back up instantaneously, it merges the streams. So, and we don't want that to happen, because if I get a copyright strike on the other stream, it's not that big of a deal because I'm just doing critiques. But if I get a copyright strike on this stream, it's going to pull it down, and that's not a good thing. So, that is, you guys have to wait like 15 minutes, about 10 to 15 minutes. Sorry about that, but it's just the way it works. I need to keep the streams from merging. So I will see you guys in a bit. And also, Jared, I could pull open a little bit of, yeah, okay. Well, if you're busy, then I'll just, you know, next time you're available, I'll try to do Serum. Yeah, so, because I know you really wanted to hear some stuff from Serum. So. Anyway, I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. And Until then, goodbye.